The story of the Bimini Road begins in clear, shallow water near the island of North Bimini in the Bahamas. The sea there is usually calm. Sunlight reaches the bottom with ease, lighting up sand ripples, coral patches, and scattered stones. For years, divers passed over this area without giving it much thought. It looked ordinary, nothing dramatic, nothing that suggested history was resting just beneath the surface. That changed in September 1968. A small group of divers was exploring the seabed west of North Bimini when they noticed something unusual. Lying in about 15 feet of water was a long line of flat stone blocks. They were not piled randomly. They were laid edge to edge, forming a narrow path that stretched for hundreds of feet. Each block was large, some weighing several tons, and most had straight edges and smooth surfaces. From above, the formation looked deliberate, almost like a road or a harbor wall. This underwater structure would soon become known as the Bimini Road, one of the most discussed sunken structures in the Atlantic Ocean. At first, news of the discovery spread quietly among divers and local researchers, but the timing of the find added fuel to the mystery. Just a few years earlier, American psychic Edgar Cayce had made a famous prediction. He claimed that remains of Atlantis would rise near Bimini in the late 1960s. When the stone formation was found in 1968, many people saw it as more than coincidence. Within months, the site drew attention from archaeologists, geologists, treasure hunters, and underwater explorers. Boats began anchoring above the stones. Divers swam slowly along the formation, counting blocks, measuring angles, and taking photographs. What they saw only deepened the questions. The stones appeared to form a single main line with occasional side stones branching off. Some blocks seemed stacked, with smaller stones resting beneath larger ones. In places, the stones looked fitted together, not unlike ancient masonry. For those who believed this was no accident of nature, the Bimini Road looked like the edge of a lost port or a breakwater protecting an ancient shoreline. But belief alone was not enough. If this was truly part of a submerged civilization, it would change what we know about ancient ocean discoveries in the Americas. Researchers began by studying the stones themselves. They were identified as limestone, specifically beach rock. Beach rock forms naturally along shorelines when sand and shell fragments are cemented together by minerals. This detail became central to the debate. Beach rock can fracture into flat slabs, especially when exposed to waves, temperature changes, and natural stress over long periods of time. Geologists who examined the Bimini Road argued that the stones broke naturally and settled into their current position. According to this view, the straight lines were the result of erosion patterns and wave action, not human planning. Similar formations, they pointed out, can be found above water in the Bahamas today. Yet critics of this explanation were not convinced. They asked why the stones followed such a consistent line, why were many blocks similar in size, and why did some appear layered, with one stone resting on top of another? Natural processes can explain a lot, but do they explain all of this? To look for answers, researchers mapped the site in detail. The main formation stretches roughly 800 feet, running in a curved line parallel to the modern shoreline. The blocks vary in size, but often measure several feet across. Some weigh as much as 5 tons. Nearby, smaller stone clusters sit at angles that seem different from the main line, adding to the complexity of the site. Over time, cores were drilled into the stones to determine their age. These tests showed that the limestone formed thousands of years ago, but that alone did not prove human involvement. Beach rock can form naturally and later shift as sea levels rise, and sea levels have changed dramatically since the end of the last ice age. Around 12,000 years ago, much of the Bahamas was above water. Coastlines looked very different. Areas that are now submerged were once beaches, reefs, and shallow land. If the stones formed on an ancient shoreline, they could have broken and fallen into place as the sea slowly rose. This explanation fits well with mainstream geology, and yet it leaves some observers uneasy. The Bimini Road does not look chaotic, it looks organized. Divers often describe the feeling of swimming along it as strange, not because it is frightening, but because it feels intentional. Underwater archaeology teams have returned to the site many times. They have scanned it, photographed it, and measured it from every angle. Despite this, no tools, carvings, or artifacts have been found directly connected to the stones. There are no inscriptions, no pottery fragments, no clear signs of human construction. That absence matters. In underwater archaeology, context is everything. A true lost underwater city usually leaves behind more than stone blocks. It leaves traces of daily life. So far, the Bimini Road has offered only the stones themselves. Still, the mystery remains alive because the site sits at the edge of what science can comfortably explain. It is not easily dismissed, but it is not clearly proven either. It occupies a gray space where geology and human history overlap. Today, the Bimini Road is protected by the government of the Bahamas. Divers are allowed to visit, but the site is monitored. It has become a symbol of how little we truly know about submerged civilizations and ancient coastlines, not because it proves the existence of a lost world, but because it reminds us how much of Earth's history now lies underwater. As researchers continue to study sea level rise and ancient shorelines, the Bimini Road remains part of a larger story, a story about how the ocean reshapes land, hides evidence, and challenges our assumptions about the past. In the next part, the focus shifts to the people who studied the site more closely, the tests they ran, and how the debate around this deep-sea mystery became sharper, louder, and more divided over time.